Hello guys, welcome to my channel where stories filled with revenge, moral lessons and love are told. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you never miss these stories that will touch your heart and shake your spirit. It was a quiet Sunday morning when I drove my sedan back home. Proud of how far I had come. The car was more than just metal and wheels. It was a reflection of my hard work, every late night at the office, every ignored insult from people who doubted me, every sacrifice I made to stand on my own. But by the evening, that pride was stolen, not by strangers on the street, but by the very people who were supposed to honor my journey, my own family. I walked into my parents' house expecting the usual tense peace. My mother fussed about the table. My father reclined with the newspaper, and Celine, my younger sister, lounged on the couch like a princess with nothing to prove. She looked up at me with that smirk she wore so easily, the kind that said she was used to getting away with anything. I dropped my keys on the counter, and when I turned back they were gone. I thought I misplaced them, but then I heard my father laughing outside. Through the window I saw Celine sliding behind the wheel of my sedan, her phone raised in the air, capturing a selfie. I froze. She didn't even ask. She didn't even glance my way. My parents were grinning as if it was a gift for her birthday, though her birthday was months away. My mother clapped her hands together. Doesn't she look perfect in it? Like it was meant for her. My chest tightened. That car wasn't meant for her. It was mine. I could still see the nights I worked late shifts just to save for the down payment. The mornings I walked in the rain to catch a bus because I refused to beg anyone for help. And yet, here my sister was, sliding into the seat like a queen taking her throne, as if my blood and sweat had been hers all along. Later that evening I scrolled through my phone, my stomach churning. There she was on social media, posing next to my car with a caption that cut deeper than any knife. Finally, the keys. Mom and Dad know I deserve it. Blessed to have parents who believe in me. Thousands of likes. Dozens of comments congratulating her. Not a single word about me, the one who actually owned the car. I sat in silence, replaying the pattern that had defined my entire life. When Celine wanted to go to university, my parents paid for everything from tuition to rent to weekly allowances. When I wanted the same, they told me to be responsible and find scholarships. When she quit school after 2 years, they patted her back, telling her she'd find her path. When I struggled to pay my fees, they told me I should have chosen a cheaper school. Now here we were again. I could hear my father's voice at the table that evening, chuckling about how Celine deserved the best. I stared at the food on my plate, unable to swallow. I wanted to scream that I had earned the sedan, that no one had given me a thing. But my mother's sharp glance warned me to keep quiet, the same way she had silenced me since childhood. I excused myself from the table and stepped outside, the cool air biting my skin. My sedan gleamed under the porch light, but it no longer felt like mine. My sister's fingerprints smudged the handle, her perfume lingering in the seats. For a moment, I considered confronting her then and there. But what would I gain? They would laugh at me, call me dramatic, accuse me of being jealous. Instead, I stood under that porch light, memories crashing into me like waves. I remembered the time I came home with an award in college, proud that my professors recognized my work. My father barely glanced up from the TV while my mother asked if Celine had eaten. I remembered the nights Celine borrowed my clothes without asking, returning them stained, and when I complained my parents said, "She's your sister, don't be selfish." I remembered how every achievement of mine was muted, while her smallest effort was celebrated with banners and praise. My fists clenched as I looked at the car again. For years I swallowed my rage, convincing myself that one day they would see me, respect me, honor me. But now I understood they never would. Not unless I forced them to. I walked back inside, their laughter still echoing. Celine was scrolling through her phone, basking in the flood of compliments about her car. My parents beamed at her like she had cured a disease. No one looked at me, not once. That was when something inside me shifted. I didn't slam the table or raise my voice. I simply smiled to myself, a small, dangerous smile. Let them think they had won. Let Celine believe she had claimed my sedan as hers. The more they assumed, the deeper the cut would be when the truth came out. I realized I didn't need their validation anymore. I didn't need them to clap for me or to admit they were wrong. What I needed was control of my own life, control of my boundaries, control of what I built with my own two hands. And at that moment, I began to plan. It started as a whisper in my head, a thought I could barely hear over the noise of their voices. But as I sat at that dinner table, staring at Celine posing with food as if she were a celebrity, the thought grew louder, clearer, more certain. If they wanted to treat my sedan as theirs, I would make sure they could never touch it again. I smiled again, this time wide enough for Celine to notice. She frowned, perhaps sensing something she couldn't name. I leaned back in my chair, letting her enjoy the illusion, because illusions always shatter hardest when reality strikes. That night, as I lay awake in my old room, staring at the ceiling, I promised myself. The days of swallowing my pride were over. They thought they had taken from me, but they had only awakened a part of me I had kept hidden for too long. And soon, they would learn exactly what it meant when I decided to draw the line. The morning after that dinner, I woke up with the weight of everything pressing down on me. I could still see Celine's smirk when she posted those pictures, and I could still hear my parents praising her as though she was the golden child sent from heaven. But underneath the bitterness, there was also clarity. For the first time in years, I understood that arguing with them would be useless. I had tried that before. Every time I protested, they told me I was ungrateful, dramatic, or jealous. So I decided I wouldn't fight with words anymore. I would fight with actions. At work, I was a completely different person than I was in my parents' house. There I was the overlooked daughter. At the office I was Mariah Clark, senior strategist at a top consulting firm in the city. People respected me, relied on me, and trusted my judgment. I was the one who signed off on million-dollar proposals, the one who negotiated deals that others said were impossible. My colleagues saw me as powerful, decisive. It was only at home that I was made to feel small. That day, sitting at my desk with the city skyline behind me, I thought about my sedan parked outside. The same sedan my family thought they had claimed for Celine. A spark of an idea flickered inside me. I remembered something from a recent client meeting: how corporations often purchased vehicles for their executives, branding them as company assets for both tax benefits and image. If I signed my car over to my company, it would no longer be mine in the personal sense. It would belong to the firm. That meant Celine, my parents, anyone outside my professional circle, would never be able to touch it again. The more I thought about it, the more brilliant it felt. This wasn't just about protecting my car. It was about reclaiming power in a way they could never twist into selfishness or jealousy. They wanted to pretend my car was Celine's? Fine. I would make it untouchable. I would take it beyond their reach, backed by legal documents and corporate lawyers. And in doing so, I would create a shield around myself that no amount of favoritism could pierce. I scheduled a meeting with Mr. Donovan, our head of operations, a stern man with sharp eyes who rarely smiled. As I explained my idea, signing my sedan over to the company fleet, branding it as a corporate vehicle, I watched him lean back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "You're suggesting we purchase your car and list it as part of our executive assets," he said slowly. "Why?" "Because it benefits both sides," I replied calmly. "The company gains a polished, reliable vehicle that reflects our professional image. I gain a smoother commute to client sites without reimbursement paperwork. And it sends the right message: our executives represent the company in every detail, even down to their cars." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded once. "Prepare a proposal. If the numbers work, I'll sign off." That night, I stayed late at the office drafting the document. Every word was sharp, professional, airtight. I laid out cost savings, branding opportunities, and logistical advantages. I wasn't just asking for a personal favor, I was presenting a business case. By the time I printed it, I felt the old fire in me burn stronger than ever. This wasn't a plea for respect. This was me taking control of my narrative. The board approved it within a week. Just like that, the sedan was no longer registered under my name. It was now property of the firm, branded with our company logo on the side door. A small emblem, subtle but undeniable, marking it as something larger than me. I picked it up from the detailing shop one Friday afternoon, and when I slid into the driver's seat, I felt a rush of triumph. This car was mine in spirit, but on paper, it was untouchable. I drove straight to my parents' house that weekend, the logo gleaming proudly in the sunlight. Celine was already outside, dressed to the nines as if she had been waiting for another photo shoot. When she saw the emblem, her smile faltered. "What's this?" she asked, pointing at the logo. "It's not mine anymore," I said smoothly. "The company owns it now. I'm just the driver." Her eyes widened, and for the first time in years, I saw something other than arrogance in her face. I saw confusion, maybe even fear. She looked back toward the house, and I knew she was about to run in and tell my parents. I didn't stop her. Let them know. Let them stew. Inside, my father's booming voice demanded answers. "What do you mean it belongs to your company? That's your car." I shrugged, keeping my tone even. "Not anymore. It's a corporate asset now. Nothing to do with me personally. I can't lend it out, I can't gift it. I can't even park it here without clearance. It belongs to the firm." My mother's face pinched with anger. "You mean to say we let Celine think she could enjoy it, and now you've tied it up in paperwork? How could you do this to your sister?" The laugh that bubbled up inside me almost escaped, but I swallowed it. "Funny," I said instead. "Because when I worked myself to the bone for it, no one asked how they could help me. But now suddenly, it's about Celine's enjoyment." The silence that followed was delicious. For the first time, they had no quick retort, no sharp dismissal. Celine looked at me like I had betrayed her. But the truth was, I had simply refused to let them betray me again. From that day forward, I noticed the shift. Celine never asked to borrow the sedan again. My parents never praised her for deserving it. Every time I pulled into their driveway, that small company logo reminded them and me that my life was no longer theirs to rewrite. At work, my decision brought unexpected rewards. The directors applauded my initiative, praising my ability to align personal resources with company interests. I was invited into meetings I had never been part of before, sitting at tables where real power was exchanged. My career accelerated, not just because of the car, but because I had proven I knew how to protect value whether it was mine or the company's. Late at night, when I drove through the city lights, I would rest my hand on the wheel and smile. Celine might still believe she was the chosen one at home, but out here, in the real world, I was building something untouchable. And soon my family would learn that the independence they dismissed in me was the very thing that made me unstoppable. The following Sunday came faster than I expected. I had spent the week busy at the office, diving into new responsibilities after the directors began including me in high-level discussions. But beneath all the work, there was an undercurrent of anticipation building in me. I knew dinner would be tense. My parents and Celine had been stewing over the revelation that the sedan was no longer mine, but instead the company's. I could almost taste their disapproval before I even set foot inside the house. When I arrived, the atmosphere was heavy. The table was set, the food steaming, but no one spoke at first. My father cleared his throat, his face rigid. "Mariah, we need to talk about this stunt you pulled with the car." I calmly placed my napkin in my lap and met his stare. "It wasn't a stunt. It was a business decision." Celine slammed her fork down, her voice sharp. "You humiliated me. Everyone online thinks that car is mine. Do you know how embarrassing it was to explain that it belongs to your company now? You made me look like a fool." Her words made me bite back a laugh. For years, she had made me look small, treating me like the shadow of her supposed brilliance. But the first time her illusion cracked, she couldn't handle it. I kept my tone steady though. "If you felt embarrassed, Celine, that's not my doing. That's the truth catching up to your lies." My mother leaned forward, her hands gripping the edge of the table. "You've always been jealous of your sister. Now you've taken things too far. You can't expect us to sit here and applaud you for stripping her of something that made her happy." The anger in me simmered, but I didn't let it spill over. Instead, I leaned back, choosing each word like a blade. That car was never hers. It was mine. And when you all decided to hand it over to her as if my hard work meant nothing, you forced me to make a choice. So I made one. It's no longer in anyone's hands but the company's. That's what happens when people try to take advantage of me. I make sure they can't again. The silence that followed was sharp, almost suffocating. My father's jaw tightened, his voice low and dangerous. You're ungrateful. Everything we've ever done for you. And this is how you repay us? Maybe we should reconsider what you get in our will. For a moment, I felt the sting of his words, but then it passed, replaced by a calm strength I hadn't felt before. I set my fork down gently and met his eyes without blinking. You don't need to reconsider. I already received my inheritance. It wasn't money, and it wasn't gifts. It was the lesson you drilled into me every time you chose Celine over me. You taught me independence. You taught me to never expect anything from you. And I'm grateful for that. My mother gasped, Celine's eyes widened, and my father looked as though I had struck him. But I didn't flinch. I didn't retreat. For the first time at that table, I wasn't the overlooked daughter. I was the one holding the ground, refusing to yield. Dinner was quiet after that. They picked at their food, their glances sharp, but no one dared push further. I ate in peace, each bite a silent victory. By the time I left, I knew nothing between us would ever be the same, but I also knew I didn't need it to be. I had finally drawn my boundary, and whether they liked it or not, they were forced to see it. Months passed. At work, my career blossomed. I was promoted to executive vice president, my name etched onto office doors, my presence respected in every boardroom. The sedan, now wrapped fully in company branding, became more than just a vehicle. It was a symbol of what I had fought for. Every time I slid behind the wheel, I remembered that Sunday dinner, the shock in their faces, the silence that followed my words. And I smiled. With time, my relationship with my family shifted. I no longer chased their approval, no longer bent myself to fit their version of love. Instead, I built a new way of connecting on my terms with clear boundaries. When I visited, I came as Mariah Clark, the woman who had carved her own path, not the daughter desperate to be seen. Celine tried now and then to slip back into her old tricks, but the logo on my sedan was a constant reminder that some doors would never open for her again. And for me, it was a daily affirmation. I had taken back my power, and no one could steal it. Looking back, I realized that revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers in contracts, in quiet choices, in boundaries drawn so firmly that they echo louder than any argument. I didn't need to scream at them or prove myself endlessly. I just needed to act and let my actions speak the truth they had always ignored. And that truth was simple. I would never again be the forgotten daughter at their table. I had carved my own place in the world, and no amount of favoritism could erase it. Moral lessons often come wrapped in pain, but pain sharpens us into who we are meant to be. My story isn't just about a car. It's about reclaiming my voice after years of being silenced. It's about realizing that respect doesn't come from those who refuse to see your worth. It comes from within, from the choices you make to protect yourself, your achievements, and your peace. If you've ever felt overlooked, dismissed, or pushed aside, I hope my journey reminds you that you don't have to wait for validation. You can draw your boundaries, you can take back your power, and you can define what love and respect mean for you. Sometimes, the inheritance we receive isn't wealth. It's the lesson that we are strong enough to stand alone. And standing alone doesn't mean you're lonely. It means you've chosen dignity over dysfunction, self-worth over silence. So let this be a reminder. Your victories belong to you. And no one can rewrite your story unless you hand them the pen. Hello guys, if this story touched you, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to this channel for more stories filled with revenge, moral lessons, and love.